Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really zeroing in on a pretty big shift in how we think about work.
Mm.
It's the rise of empathy. And we're not just talking about, being nice.
No, not at
We
all.
mean empathy as a real strategic advantage, something that's set to, well, reshape our workplaces.
Fundamentally reshape them. Yeah, from the desks and walls,
The physical layout.
right, to the social fabric, how we actually work together.
So to get into this, we've got some great material. There's a Simon Sinek video,
Yeah, really good stuff on building an empathetic culture.
and we've also got this really interesting text that connects empathy to ESG.
Environmental, social, and governance factors,
Yeah.
especially important now, post-pandemic.
Exactly. So our mission really is to pull out the key insights. How is empathy changing things?
Yeah,
And why should you care?
why it matters to you. Yeah. Okay, where do we start? Sinek.
Let's start there. Sinek points out something quite interesting. He says for the last, 30, 40 years,
Yeah.
we've really over-indexed on individualism and this finite mindset.
Right, the short-term thinking. Win-lose. Me versus you.
And you see that reflected in how companies often reward people, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. It's often all about hitting your individual targets, your KPIs.
Even when the real work of valuable stuff happens in teams.
Precisely.
Yeah.
We haven't always been great at, celebrating the collective effort. It's been easier to measure the individual piece.
Yeah. And Sinek argues this focus, this sort of relentless individualism.
Hmm.
It means we've neglected some crucial things,
Like what specifically?
like the overall company culture,
Yeah.
real leadership,
Yeah.
and just the people, their well-being.
He makes that great point about culture not being about the perks.
Right.
Right. The free food or the ping pong tables.
Exactly. It's much deeper. It's about how people feel.
That's the core of it. Do you feel seen, heard, valued when you show up for work?
That kind of underlying psychological safety, that's the real culture.
And this ties into another big trend we're all seeing. People aren't staying in jobs as long.
Right, the shorter tenure. And it's easy to just say, oh, it's the millennials or
Yeah.
it's Gen Z.
Chalk it up to a generational thing.
Yeah. But Sinek pushes back on that. He suggests maybe it's less about the younger generations.
And more about the leadership and the environments that previous generations created.
Exactly. And here's his main point, really. It boils down to this. When people feel genuinely seen, heard, understood,
Treated like human beings.
they are far more likely to stay, to commit.
That sense of belonging, of mattering, it's a powerful anchor. Much more powerful than just a paycheck, often.
Absolutely. And the flip side is if you feel like just a number, just a resource,
Or judged only by hitting targets, regardless of what's going on in your life.
it's demoralizing. You're going to start looking elsewhere, aren't you?
You are. You'll look for a place where you feel, well, more human.
Sinek gives a great example of this. A manager sees someone's numbers are down.
Okay.
The typical reaction might be quite critical, right?
Right.
Why are your numbers down? You need to fix this. Maybe even a warning.
Yeah. Straight to the problem, focus on the deficit.
But the empathetic response, Sinek says, is totally different.
How so?
It starts with connection. The manager asks, hey, are you okay? Noticed your numbers are a bit off. I'm worried about you. What's going on?
That changes everything, doesn't it? Starting with concern for the person, not just the performance.
It really does. And Sinek's conclusion is that this kind of leadership, the kind built on empathy, listening, giving, and getting feedback, well, these are crucial skills.
Skills we've maybe forgotten to teach or haven't valued enough in leaders.
Seems like it. Okay, let's pivot slightly. Let's bring in the other source, the one looking at the post-pandemic landscape,
Right, because the pandemic really shook things up, didn't it?
for sure. The text says it led to lessons learned and many resolutions made for a new way of being and doing.
A new way, with empathy being a key part of that potential shift.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially with all the digital transformation, remote work becoming so widespread.
Which brought flexibility, but also challenges,
Definitely. People feeling unsure about where they should work, office, home, hybrid.
And that can lead to feeling disconnected, maybe isolated, even anxiety or depression for some.
Yeah, that sense of drift.
Yeah.
Our work environments, whether physical or virtual, sometimes feel off,
Mm-hmm.
underused, or just not connecting us.
So this moment right now is a huge opportunity to rethink things,
Love
to
it.
tackle burnout, support mental health.
By consciously putting empathy at the center of how we work.
And this is where that idea of state of culture comes in.
Tell us a bit more about that. What does state of culture actually mean here?
It's basically about being really intentional, bringing together the design of the workplace.
Both physical space and like organizational structure.
Exactly, bringing design and culture together purposefully to build social cohesion, stronger connections.
Okay.
And the text argues that empathy and ESG are sort of the twin engines for this. If you weave empathy into your ESG strategy,
It helps create a work environment that's genuinely good for people, socially beneficial.
yes. And the interesting bit is the benefits aren't just internal, they ripple outwards.
Okay, so when we say empathy here, are we just talking about, being nice and understanding? Or is it more defined?
That's a key question. The text makes a useful distinction. We often hear about cognitive empathy.
Understanding someone's thoughts?
Right, and affective empathy, feeling their emotions.
Okay.
But this text introduces something called integrative empathy.
Integrative empathy. Okay, that sounds more complex, more than just a soft skill.
It is. Empathy often gets labeled a soft skill, maybe important for nurses or designers. Right?
Sure, understanding the user or the patient.
But integrative empathy is about creating mutual understanding and care within a whole system. It's not just one person empathizing with another, it's a network effect.
How does that work? It has principles.
It has 5 interconnected principles and practices. First one is self-empathy.
Understanding yourself first.
Yeah. Knowing your own emotional state, your biases, so you can actually hold space for someone else properly. Be present.
Makes sense. You need a stable base. What's next?
Second is kinesthetic empathy. This is about tuning into the nonverbal stuff, body language, movement, the whole sensory experience.
How we affect each other physically without even talking.
Exactly. And consciously using that awareness to build connection. Third is reflective empathy.
Okay.
This is about deep listening, making sure people feel truly heard and understood, achieving that mutual understanding.
So self, kinesthetic, reflective. What are the last two?
Fourth is imaginative empathy. This is the one people maybe think of most often, really trying to step into someone else's shoes.
Seeing it from their perspective,
Gah.
within their world.
Yes, really trying to grasp their unique viewpoint and context. And finally, number 5 is empathic creativity.
Creativity, how does that fit?
It's about taking all that understanding and using it to act, identifying key moments, challenges, or opportunities through that empathetic lens.
And then actually doing something about it, driving change.
Exactly. It's the action part. And when you get a whole network of people practicing these things together,
That's when you get real social cohesion.
that's the idea. People feel they belong, they see their mutual impact, understanding deepens, you get respect for different views, even if you don't agree.
And it leads to actual results, actionable outcomes.
Right. It creates a better shared reality.
This sounds like it has huge implications for ESG, especially the social part.
Oh, absolutely. The social pillar looks at how companies treat people, right? Employees, communities, customers.
Hmm.
Empathy, particularly this integrative kind, directly supports so many social goals, well-being, connection, inclusion.
And you mentioned earlier, it benefits the giver too.
It does. Practicing empathy is shown to have positive effects on the person doing the empathizing as well. It's not just a one-way street.
And how does imaginative empathy specifically link to things like diversity and inclusion?
Well, that imagine other perspective is crucial, isn't it? Actively trying to understand the experience of someone from a different background, a different identity.
It helps break down those unconscious biases.
Hopefully, yes. It fosters that deeper sense of belonging for everyone. And in a world that feels increasingly polarized sometimes,
Yeah.
developing these skills seems more important than ever. And they can be developed. It takes practice.
That's good to know. It's not just something you either have or you don't.
Yeah.
What about the E in ESG? The environment. Seems less obvious how empathy fits there.
You might think so, but there's a strong link. The environmental pillar is about, stewardship of nature.
Right. Pollution, resources, climate change.
But think about it. For environmental policies to actually work and stick, you need buy-in, right? People need to feel connected to them.
Okay.
So the sentiments of everyone in the organization towards those policies really matter for long-term success and social cohesion around them.
So it's a feedback loop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you design environmental policies using empathy, really listening to different stakeholders' concerns and values.
You're more likely to create something people actually support.
Precisely. Environmental issues often hit close to home. They connect to personal values. So listening, considering those diverse perspectives during policy creation, it brings people on board.
Makes sense. And this idea of empathy even extends to designing the physical workspace itself.
It does. We touched on it earlier, but the physical environment dramatically affects our well-being and how we interact.
You mentioned neuroarchitecture.
Yeah, there's growing research showing how our surroundings impact us emotionally, physiologically, psychologically, cognitively.
Like the example you gave. Natural materials.
Right, like using wood textures can literally lower heart rates and stress responses, often without us even realizing it's happening.
Wow. So design isn't just about aesthetics.
Not at all. And empathy applies here in two main ways. First, use empathy to research what people actually need from a space.
Understand the users.
Yeah. And second, design the space itself to facilitate empathy among the people using it.
How would a space do that?
By creating environments that feel psychologically safe. Spaces that encourage connection, that make it easier to listen, to see other perspectives.
So you could use those 5 principles of integrative empathy when designing.
Absolutely. In the research phase, in prototyping,
Mhm.
thinking about how the design supports self-empathy, reflection, connection, perspective-taking.
It's like designing the conditions for empathy to flourish.
You could put it that way. And it goes even further. The text mentions applying empathy even to non-human things.
Like animals or ecosystems.
Yes, or even inanimate objects in design processes. To better understand impacts, design policies, and educate people. It's a tool for understanding relationships and impacts more broadly.
So wrapping this all together, this culture of empathy, it really permeates everything, doesn't it?
It seems to. It works on multiple levels. It's in the principles behind policies, it's in the processes and routines, and it's in our day-to-day interactions.
And it helps break down barriers, like hierarchies or silos between departments.
Yeah, it fosters collaboration across those lines. It's pretty vital for any kind of multidisciplinary work.
Ultimately, it empowers people to look after themselves, connect with others, listen, understand.
Value different perspectives and actually integrate them to move forward together.
So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. Empathy isn't just, a soft skill anymore. It's really a strategic imperative.
Crucial for designing the future of work, affecting the physical spaces, the social dynamics, everything.
Absolutely. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? How could you apply these ideas, these principles of integrative empathy?
Self-empathy, kinesthetic, reflective, imaginative, empathic creativity.
How could you bring those into your own workplace, your own interactions?
Yeah, what small changes could you make?
And leaves us with a final thought, maybe, as we keep navigating this changing world of work.
Which is always evolving.
How might embedding this deep culture of empathy do more than just improve well-being or culture? Could it actually be a core driver of innovation and long-term sustainability?
That's a powerful question to consider. Food for thought.
Definitely something to keep thinking about. Thanks for diving deep with us today.